The meeting hall of the Galactic Council was enormous. It floated in space, a massive station where representatives from hundreds of alien species gathered to discuss important matters. Today the chamber was filled with angry voices, all directed at one species, humanity. Jack Morrison sat alone in the observation section. He was the human ambassador, a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been trying to negotiate peace for months, but he could feel the mood shifting against him. The other species did not trust humans. They feared them. Ambassador Zrelthik stood at the center podium. He was a Vorian, a being made of living crystal that sparkled under the lights. His voice came through a translator device that hung in the air. "The humans are dangerous," he said. "They come from a world that should not support intelligent life. Their planet tries to kill them every single day, yet they multiply and spread across the stars." Other ambassadors nodded their agreement. The Vorians had been complaining about humans for years. Now others were joining them. "Earth has weather that changes without warning," Zrelthik continued. "Storms that destroy cities. Earthquakes that crack the ground open. Temperature swings that would kill most of us in hours. The gravity alone would crush half the species in this room, yet humans call it home." Jack wanted to speak up, to defend his people, but the rules said he had to wait. He clenched his fists and stayed quiet. A new voice joined the debate. The Sophon delegate, a being of pure energy contained in a glowing sphere, floated forward. "The humans expand too quickly. They establish colonies on worlds we considered worthless, planets with dangerous gravity levels, worlds with toxic atmospheres. They adapt to conditions that would require us decades of terraforming. That is not a crime," Jack muttered under his breath, though nobody could hear him. "Furthermore," Zrelthik said, raising his crystalline limbs for emphasis, "the humans refuse to limit their military. Their warships are built like tanks. Thick armor, primitive but effective weapons. They train their soldiers in conditions that our medical experts classify as torture. High gravity chambers, extreme temperature environments, sleep deprivation exercises." The chamber filled with concerned murmurs. To most galactic species, such training methods seemed barbaric. They did not understand that humans had evolved in harsh conditions. What seemed like torture to aliens was simply preparation to humans. "And now," Zrelthik announced dramatically, "they have established a colony on Kepler 442b. This world was in dispute. Several species had claims pending. The humans ignored all protocols and simply moved in. 50,000 colonists now live there, and they refuse to leave." Jack knew this was coming. Kepler 442b was technically unclaimed territory under galactic law. The human colony was completely legal, but the Vorians wanted that system, and they were using political pressure to get it. The Kryn representative stood up. The Kryn were insectoid warriors, the most feared military force in the galaxy. The humans show no respect for established powers. They act like they own the galaxy. "This behavior cannot continue," more voices joined in. Species that had never even met humans were suddenly convinced they were a threat. Jack realized this had been planned. The Vorians and their allies had been building this coalition for months, waiting for the right moment to strike. "We must act decisively," Zrelthik declared. "I propose immediate economic sanctions against humanity. No trade, no technology exchange, no access to galactic resources. If they do not comply with our demands, military action must follow." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates seemed uncomfortable with such harsh measures, but most appeared ready to vote yes. Jack finally received permission to speak. He walked down to the main floor, his footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Every eye, stalk sensor, and optical organ turned toward him. "Members of the council," he began. "My people came to the stars seeking friendship. We wanted to learn from you, to share knowledge, to build a better future together. You came seeking resources," Zrelthik interrupted. "You came seeking worlds to conquer." "We came seeking a home among the stars," Jack shot back. "Yes, we settle harsh worlds. That is because we come from a harsh world. We do not need comfortable planets. We can thrive where others cannot. That should be seen as an asset, not a threat." The Sophon delegate pulsed with light. "But you multiply so rapidly. You expand so aggressively. If we do not contain you now, in a century you will outnumber us all." Jack took a deep breath. "We reproduce at normal biological rates. We expand because we have the drive to explore. These are not crimes. And as for our military, we build strong defenses because the universe is dangerous. We learned that lesson on Earth. We learned to be prepared." You learn to be violent, a small delegate from the Paxton Republic squeaked. You learn to solve problems with force. We learn to survive, Jack corrected. There is a difference, but he could see it was no use. The vote was already decided. This meeting was just a formality. The galaxy had made up its mind about humanity. The council president, an ancient being whose species had founded the galactic community thousands of years ago, called for the vote. All those in favor of declaring humanity a hostile force and implementing immediate sanctions? Lights appeared across the chamber as delegates registered their votes. Jack watched the count climb. 200 votes. 220. 231. The measure passes, the president announced. Humanity is hereby declared a threat to galactic peace. All trade is suspended. All human vessels are banned from council space. Human colonies in disputed territories must be evacuated within 30 standard cycles. Failure to comply will result in military intervention. Jack stood alone on the chamber floor. He had failed. War was coming. Security escorts arrived to take him back to his quarters. As he walked through the corridors of the council station, he pulled out his communication device. It was old Earth technology, not fancy like the devices other species used, but it was reliable. He pressed the call button. Morrison to Earth Command, he said quietly. They voted for sanctions. Military action is authorized if we do not withdraw from Kepler 442b. There was a brief pause, then Admiral Kate Bradley's voice came through. She sounded calm, which somehow made Jack feel better. Understood, Ambassador. Do they know what they just started? No, Jack replied. I do not think they do. Then they are about to learn a very hard lesson, Kate said. Get to the evacuation ship, come home. We have preparations to make. Jack ended the call and continued walking. Behind him in the council chamber, the delegates were celebrating what they thought was a great victory. They believed they had contained a threat. They believed they had put the aggressive humans in their place. They had no idea what was coming. Fleet Commander Ralvin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Light. Around him, holographic displays showed 300 Vorian warships arranged in perfect formation. It was the largest military fleet his people had ever assembled. It was also, he believed, more than enough to crush one small human colony. All ships report ready, Commander, his second officer announced. The officer's crystalline body glowed with excitement. This would be an easy victory. Ralvin studied the tactical display showing Kepler 442b. Intelligence reports said the human colony had 50,000 civilians and maybe 2,000 military personnel. They had basic defenses but no orbital platforms, no fleet, nothing that could stand against Vorian military power. Proceed with the attack plan, Ralvin ordered. We will be merciful. Strike only military targets. The civilians will be given a chance to surrender and evacuate peacefully. The fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives. Space bent around them as they jumped across the galaxy. In what felt like moments, they arrived at the edge of the Kepler 4042 system. Immediately, warning alarms sounded across the bridge. Commander, sensors detect multiple objects throughout the system, the tactical officer reported. Counting approximately 10,000 individual contacts, Ralvin felt a moment of concern. Classify them immediately. The sensor officer worked quickly, analyzing the data. They appear to be mines, Commander. Primitive fusion devices. They are scattered throughout the approach vectors to the planet. Ralvin relaxed. Mines were a crude defense. Ancient technology. Deploy countermeasures and navigate around them. Do not let such simple tricks slow us down. The fleet began moving through the debris field. Vorian technology was far superior to human engineering. Their ships had advanced shields that could easily handle mine explosions. But as they moved deeper into the system, something strange was happening. Down on the surface of Kepler 442b, Colonel Danny Hart watched his tactical screens. Every time a Vorian ship passed near one of the mines sent out a signal. It was not attacking. It was reporting. The humans were mapping the exact position of every enemy vessel. Got them, Danny said with a smile. They think the mines are weapons. They have no idea we are just using them as tracking beacons. His second-in-command, Major Lisa Martinez, nodded. The computer has calculated their formation. We have firing solutions on all 300 ships. Hold until they enter high orbit, Danny ordered. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they have already won. In space, the Vorian fleet reached the planet without incident. Only a few mines had detonated, and none had caused serious damage. Hralvin was pleased. Excellent work, he told his crew. Move into bombardment position. Target all military installations. Prepare to fire on my command. The 300 ships arranged themselves in orbit, targeting computers locked onto the human bases below. Hralvin raised his crystalline limb to give the order. That was when the planet fired back. Hundreds of launch signatures appeared on the Vorian sensors. Missiles were rising from the surface, climbing through the thick atmosphere of Kepler 442b. But these were not sophisticated energy weapons. They were simple rockets carrying dense metal projectiles. Evasive action, Hralvin ordered calmly. Deploy point defense systems. The Vorian ships activated their defensive weapons designed to shoot down incoming missiles. But there were so many targets. The humans had launched everything at once, hundreds of rockets all arriving simultaneously. The first impacts were devastating. Vorian shields were designed to disperse energy weapons. They worked by spreading out heat and radiation across a wide area. But kinetic weapons, solid chunks of metal moving at high speed, simply punched through the shields like they were not there. 3 Vorian ships exploded immediately. 12 more were crippled, their hulls torn open by tungsten penetrators. Return fire, Hralvin shouted, his calm demeanor shattered. All weapons, maximum intensity. Destroy those launch sites. The Vorian fleet unleashed a massive bombardment. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, turning rock into molten glass. Plasma torpedoes created mushroom clouds visible from space. Surely nothing could survive such destruction. But the launch signatures did not stop. More rockets kept coming. How is this possible? The tactical officer asked in confusion. We have turned the surface into a wasteland. Where are these weapons coming from? Danny Hart, safe in his command bunker 3 kilometers underground, laughed. They still do not understand. They think we would build on the surface of a high-gravity world with an unstable atmosphere. Everything important is deep underground, carved into solid bedrock. The colony had been designed with defense in mind. The colonists had spent years digging tunnels, creating a network of bunkers connected by underground passages. The surface installations were just decoys. The real colony was far below, protected by kilometers of rock. Keep firing, Danny ordered. Make them waste ammunition on empty buildings while we tear their fleet apart. In orbit, more Vorian ships were hit. The fleet's formation was breaking apart as captains tried to maneuver away from the missile strikes. That made them even easier targets. Then new contacts appeared on the sensors. Ships emerging from the asteroid belt at the system's edge. Commander, we have incoming vessels, the sensor officer reported. 20 ships, human design. They are accelerating toward us at 30 gravities. Hralvin stared at the display in disbelief. 30 gravities? That acceleration would kill any biological crew. Our compensators can only handle 10 gravities before crew members start dying. The readings are confirmed, Commander. They are pulling 30 gravities and still accelerating. What Hralvin did not understand was that humans had grown up in Earth's gravity. They had trained in even higher gravity environments. Their bodies were dense, their bones thick, their muscles powerful. What would kill a Vorian was merely uncomfortable for a human. The human fleet was small but fast. They hit the Vorian formation like a hammer. Their ships built more like missiles than traditional warships. Captain Lisa Chen commanded the lead vessel, a destroyer called Defiant. All forward guns fire, Lisa ordered through gritted teeth. The high G acceleration pressed her into her seat. But she had trained for this. Every member of her crew had trained for this. The Defiant's railguns fired. Magnetic accelerators launched tungsten rods at incredible speeds. The Eternal Light's shields flared and failed. The projectiles tore through the flagship's hull. Their shields cannot stop solid projectiles, Lisa's tactical officer Greg Palmer reported. Their entire defensive philosophy is based on energy weapon exchanges. Then let us give them more than they can handle, Lisa said. All ships focus fire. Railguns only. Show them what happens when you fight people from a death world. The human fleet tore through the Vorian formation. 20 ships against hundreds. But those 20 ships were crewed by people who had spent their entire lives learning to survive in harsh conditions. They did not panic. They did not break. They fought with the efficiency of predators who knew they were stronger than their prey. More Vorian ships exploded. Others tried to retreat but were caught by missiles from the surface. The carefully planned attack had become a disaster. Commander, we have lost 40 ships, the second officer reported. Our formation is collapsing. We must withdraw. Ralvin could not believe what was happening. His superior fleet was being destroyed by a handful of human ships and some ground-based rockets. It was impossible. It was humiliating. All ships retreat, he finally ordered. Jump to faster than light as soon as you clear the gravity well. The surviving Vorian vessels scrambled to escape. They left their damaged ships behind, abandoned their landing craft, and fled the system as fast as their engines could carry them. On the surface of Kepler 442b, Danny Hart watched them go. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Vorians have been defeated. We held the colony with minimal casualties. In space, Lisa Chen allowed herself to smile. All ships, stand down. Let them run. Let them tell their leaders what happened here. Let the galaxy know that humans do not give up easily. The first battle was over. Humanity had won. But both sides knew this was just the beginning. The news of the Vorian defeat spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. In meeting halls and diplomatic chambers across the galaxy, species that had never worried about military matters suddenly found themselves discussing the impossible. A small human colony had destroyed a fleet of 300 ships. Ambassador Zrelthik stood before the emergency session of the council. His crystalline form, usually bright and confident, now appeared dim and cracked. We underestimated them, he admitted quietly. Our fleet was not prepared for their tactics. Their weapons are primitive but effective. Their soldiers fight with a determination we have never encountered. The chamber was silent. Many delegates had supported the war. Now they were questioning that decision. The Kryn representative, a large insectoid warrior named Vectar, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The Vorians lost because they were weak. They have no real military tradition. They build pretty ships but do not know how to fight. He stood to his full height, his armored exoskeleton gleaming. The Kryn hegemony has never been defeated in battle. We have conquered 12 systems through military strength. We will show these humans what real warriors can do. Other delegates shifted nervously. The Kryn were feared throughout the galaxy. Their warrior caste trained from birth for combat. They had the most advanced weapons and the largest fleet. If anyone could defeat the humans, it would be them. We will dispatch our third war fleet, Vectar announced. 500 warships crewed by our finest soldiers. We will not make the Vorians' mistakes. We will study the humans. We will adapt, and we will crush them. On Earth, deep beneath the city of New Geneva, Admiral Kate Bradley sat at the head of a long conference table. Around her were the leaders of humanity's military forces. Holographic displays showed star charts and fleet positions. The Kryn are coming, Kate announced without preamble. Intelligence suggests they are assembling a force twice the size of what the Vorians sent. Our analysts believe they will attack within 3 months. General Marcus Lee, commander of Earth's ground forces, drummed his fingers on the table. The Kryn are not like the Vorians. They are actual soldiers. They have experience. They know how to fight. Then we need to be smarter than them, Admiral Richard Cole said. He commanded the Mars Defense Fleet. We cannot win a straight fight against 500 ships. We won. We do not fight a straight fight, Kate replied. We do what we do best, we adapt. We use the environment to our advantage. We make them fight on our terms. Colonel Susan Mitchell, the head of Special Operations, leaned forward. What are you thinking? Kate pulled up a holographic display of the Sol system, showing Earth, Mars, the Moon, and the asteroid belt. We abandon the outer colonies. We pull everything back to Earth. The room erupted in protests. You want to give up our territory? Marcus asked. Just hand it to them? Yes, Kate said calmly. We make them think we are retreating in fear. We let them take empty colonies. We draw them deeper into our territory, closer to Earth. And when they get here, we show them what a real death world can do. Richard understood immediately. You want to fight them here? In our home system, where we have every advantage. Exactly, Kate confirmed. They will come expecting an easy victory. They will find carefully prepared defenses, terrain we know by heart, and a population of 9 billion humans who will fight to defend their home. Susan smiled slowly. I like it. It is risky, but if it works, we can end this war decisively. Over the next 3 months, humanity prepared. Colonists were evacuated from outlying systems. Ships were pulled back to the inner planets. Weapons were manufactured around the clock. Every able-bodied person on Earth, Mars, and Luna trained for combat. The preparations were massive. On Earth, the space elevators were converted into weapons platforms. Electromagnetic launchers were built into their structure, capable of firing thousands of projectiles per minute. Submarines in the oceans were fitted with orbital launch systems. Underground bunkers were stocked with supplies for a long siege. Mars transformed its mining facilities into munitions factories. The red planet's lower gravity made it easier to launch heavy payloads into space. Soon, orbital space around Mars was filled with hidden weapons platforms, each one disguised to look like mining equipment or communication satellites. Luna, Earth's moon, became a fortress. Its lower gravity allowed for massive railguns that could hit targets throughout the solar system. Tunnels were dug deep into the lunar rock, creating shelters that could withstand any bombardment. Meanwhile, the Kryn Third War Fleet swept through human space unopposed. They took colony after colony, finding each one abandoned. The humans had left behind infrastructure, supplies, even some weapons, but no people. Fleet Master Krixtal studied the reports with growing satisfaction. They are in full retreat. They know they cannot stand against us. His second-in-command, a young warrior named Thelrix, was less certain. Master, this seems too easy. Why would they abandon valuable colonies without a fight? Why leave behind so much equipment? Because they are cowards, Krixtal replied. The Vorians attacked one small colony. Now the humans realize the entire galaxy is against them. They are running to their homeworld to beg for mercy. Thelrix wanted to argue but stayed silent. Krixtal was a veteran of dozens of battles. He must know what he was doing. The fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system 3 months after leaving Kryn space. Krixtal ordered a full scan of the system. Readings show Earth, the primary human world, at standard orbital position, the sensor officer reported. Population approximately 9 billion. We also detect significant populations on Mars and Luna. Any defensive fleet? Krixtal asked. Negative. No ships in orbit around Earth. No defensive platforms detected. No minefields. Krixtal clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. They have given up completely. Prepare landing forces. We will occupy Earth and dictate terms of unconditional surrender. The Kryn fleet moved confidently into the Sol system. 500 warships, the most powerful military force ever assembled, advancing on a seemingly undefended world. They passed Mars without incident. Krixtal noted the human colonies on the red planet, but saw no military threats. They passed Luna, seeing only mining operations and research stations. Finally, they reached Earth orbit. Krixtal gazed at the blue and green world below. It was beautiful, peaceful. He almost felt sorry for having to conquer it. All ships move into bombardment position, he ordered. Target their major cities. 1 shot each. Precision strikes on military and government centers. We will force their surrender within the hour. The fleet arranged itself in high orbit. Weapons charged. Targeting computers locked on. Krixtal prepared to give the final order. That was when Earth revealed its true defenses. The ocean waters below erupted as dozens of submarines launched missiles. Not just any missiles, but massive rockets carrying multiple warheads, each one capable of reaching orbital targets. Simultaneously, the space elevators activated their electromagnetic launchers. Thousands of projectiles per minute began rising from Earth's surface, a storm of metal flying into space. Hidden weapons platforms around Mars and Luna activated, their railguns targeting the Kryn fleet with precision calculated over months of preparation. And from the far side of the moon, where they had been hiding in sensor shadows, 200 human warships emerged. Captain Lisa Chen, now promoted to Commodore for her actions at Kepler 442b, commanded the counterattack from her new flagship, the Indefatigable. All ships engage at will. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The Kryn fleet, expecting an easy victory, found itself in a perfectly executed trap. Projectiles came from every direction. The storm of fire was so intense that Kryn shields overloaded within seconds. Evasive maneuvers, Krixtal shouted. Return fire. All weapons, maximum output. But the humans had learned from the Vorian battle. They knew Kryn shields could stop energy weapons, so they used kinetic weapons almost exclusively. Railguns, missiles, simple chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. Ships began exploding across the Kryn formation. Their superior technology meant nothing against tactics that had been refined over months of preparation. Thelrix watched in horror as the fleet was torn apart. Master, we must retreat. This is a slaughter. Krixtal refused to accept defeat. No, we outnumber them. We will prevail. But even as he spoke, more human ships appeared. The entire human fleet had been hiding, waiting, preparing. Now they struck with coordinated precision. The Kryn had walked into a trap, and humanity was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. The battle for Earth was unlike anything the Kryn had ever experienced. Fleetmaster Crixtal watched his tactical display in growing horror. As ship after ship disappeared from the screen, his superior force was being destroyed by creatures he had dismissed as primitive. "Target those space elevators," Crixtal ordered desperately. "They are the source of most ground fire. Concentrate all available energy weapons on them." Dozens of Kryn ships turned their weapons toward the massive structures rising from Earth's surface. Energy beams powerful enough to vaporize asteroids struck the elevators. The structures glowed red-hot under the assault. Their outer layers burned away, but they did not fall. "Impossible," Thelrix whispered. "What are they made of?" What the Kryn did not understand was that space elevators had to be incredibly strong just to exist. They supported their own weight across hundreds of kilometers. They handled millions of tons of cargo. They were built from carbon nanotube composites stronger than any natural material. A few energy beams were not going to bring them down. Meanwhile, the human fleet closed in from all sides. Commodore Lisa Chen coordinated the attack from the Indefatigable. Her ship was larger and better armed than the Defiant had been, but it was still built on the same principle: thick armor, powerful engines, and weapons designed to punch through anything. "Focus fire on their capital ships," Lisa ordered. "Take out their command structure. Make them panic." Captain Paul Anderson, commanding the destroyer squadron, acknowledged the order. "Roger that, Commodore. We are moving to engage their flagship." The squadron was one of the fastest ships in the human fleet. It dove toward the Eternal Light, Crixtal's massive command vessel. The Kryn flagship was 3 times larger than any human ship, covered in weapons and armor, but size was not everything. Paul brought his ship in close, so close that the Kryn point defense systems could not track fast enough. At point-blank range, he released every missile his ship carried directly into the flagship's engine section. The explosions crippled the Indomitable's propulsion system. The great ship began to drift, unable to maneuver. "Flagship is disabled," Paul reported. "Moving to next target." Throughout the battle, the same pattern repeated. Human ships were smaller and fewer in number, but they were faster and more maneuverable. Their crews could handle higher acceleration. Their weapons were simple but devastating against shields designed for energy combat. More importantly, the humans fought with a coordination born from months of preparation. Every ship knew its role. Every captain understood the plan. They had practiced this battle 100 times in simulations. The Kryn, despite their warrior traditions, found themselves outmatched by an enemy that refused to fight by conventional rules. Down on Earth's surface, millions of people watched the battle through their windows and screens. They saw explosions light up the night sky. They heard the sonic booms of missiles launching. They felt the ground shake from orbital bombardment, but they did not panic. Every city had shelters. Every family had an emergency plan. 9 billion humans had prepared for this day. They knew their military was fighting for them, and they were ready to support that fight in any way necessary. In the underground command center, Admiral Kate Bradley monitored the battle with calm efficiency. General Marcus Lee stood beside her watching the tactical displays. "The Kryn are trying to break orbit," Marcus observed. "They want to retreat." "Do not let them," Kate ordered. "Signal all ships. The Kryn fleet must be destroyed here. We cannot let them regroup and come back with reinforcements." The order went out. Human ships redoubled their efforts. The Kryn fleet, already shattered, began to collapse completely. Crixtal realized he had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not retreating. They were not weak. They had led him into a trap, and now his entire fleet was paying the price. "All ships, emergency jump to faster than light," he ordered. "Retreat immediately." But jumping to faster than light speed required time to charge the drives. It required clear space around the ship. The human vessels were too close, their interference too great. Ships that tried to jump found their drives failing. Others made it into faster than light but were damaged, their navigation systems compromised. They would drift through space for weeks before finding their way home. The indomitable Crixtal's flagship had no hope of escape. Its engines were destroyed. Thelrix looked at his commander with fear in his eyes. "Master, we are falling into the planet's gravity well. We cannot escape." Crixtal stared at the image of Earth growing larger on the view screen. His great fleet was destroyed. His warriors were dead or dying, and he was about to burn up in the atmosphere of a world that should never have posed a threat to anyone. In those final moments, he finally understood. The humans were not lucky. They were not cowards who got desperate. They were survivors from a world that tried to kill them every single day. They had learned to fight back against their own planet. Compared to that, fighting aliens was easy. Transmit our final report to Kryn High Command, Krixtal ordered quietly. Tell them everything. Tell them we were wrong about the humans. Tell them these creatures are not to be trifled with. The transmission went out just before the Indomitable hit the upper atmosphere. The great ship, built to withstand weapons fire and void of space, could not handle the friction of atmospheric re-entry. It broke apart, burning like a meteor across Earth's sky. Millions of people on the ground watched it fall. To them, it was a symbol. The mighty Kryn, feared throughout the galaxy, had come to conquer Earth. Now their flagship was just another shooting star. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Kryn Third War Fleet had ceased to exist. Of the 500 ships that had entered the Sol system, less than 50 escaped. Most of those were heavily damaged. On the Indefatigable, Lisa Chen received damage reports from her fleet. Casualties? She asked her executive officer. 17 ships destroyed, 32 damaged. Estimated 4,000 dead, 6,000 wounded. Lisa closed her eyes. 4,000 dead. It was a high price. But if the Kryn fleet had succeeded, billions would have died. The sacrifice had been necessary. Signal all ships, she said. Well done. You fought bravely. You defended our home. Earth is safe. In the command center, Kate Bradley allowed herself a moment of relief. Send a message to all human colonies. Tell them the Kryn fleet has been defeated. Tell them Earth stands strong. Marcus shook his head in amazement. Do you think they will try again? The Council, I mean. Will they send another fleet? Kate looked at the tactical display, at the debris field that had once been the most powerful military force in the galaxy. I do not think so. We have made our point. Anyone who wants to fight humanity now knows what they are facing. We are not easy prey. We are survivors from a death world, and we will fight to our last breath to protect what is ours. Across the galaxy, the Kryn transmission was received. Fleetmaster Krixtal's final words were analyzed by military commanders and political leaders. The message was clear. Humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had realized. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Zrelthik stood before the assembly once more. This time he looked like he had aged 1,000 years. 2 fleets, he said quietly. We sent 2 fleets against the humans. Both were destroyed. The Vorians lost 300 ships. The Kryn lost 500. Combined casualties exceed 200,000, all because we declared war on a species we did not understand. The chamber was silent. The delegates who had voted for war now looked at their desks, unable to meet anyone's gaze. We made a mistake, Zrelthik continued. We saw the humans as primitive. We saw their harsh world as a weakness. We did not realize it was their strength. They are adapted to conditions that would kill most of us. They are born survivors. And when you threaten their homes, they fight with a ferocity that cannot be matched. The Sophon delegate pulsed dimly. What do we do now? We negotiate, Zrelthik said. We offer peace. We recognize their sovereignty, and we pray they are more merciful than we were. 3 weeks after the battle for Earth, Ambassador Jack Morrison stood in the observation gallery of a neutral space station. He watched as repair crews worked on damaged sections of the hull. The galaxy was slowly coming to terms with what had happened. A messenger approached him. Ambassador, the Council is ready for you. Jack nodded and straightened his uniform. He had been recalled to the Galactic Council, but this time the circumstances were very different. This time, humanity held all the cards. The Council chamber looked the same as before, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The delegates who had once looked at Jack with contempt or fear now watched him with wary respect. Some would not meet his eyes at all. The Council president gestured for Jack to approach the central podium. Ambassador Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you back. Jack walked to the center of the floor. He did not hurry. He did not show any nervousness. He represented the species that had just destroyed 2 major fleets. He would carry himself with the dignity that achievement deserved. Thank you, President, Jack said formally. Ambassador Zrelthik stood up from his seat. The Vorian looked diminished somehow, his crystalline form cracked and dull. Ambassador Morrison, I wish to speak first, if you permit. Jack gestured for him to continue. I owe your species an apology, Zrelthik said, his voice translated into tones of deep regret. I led the movement to declare war on humanity. I convinced this council that your people were a threat. I was wrong. The only threat was the one we created through our own fear and ignorance. Other delegates murmured agreement. Several stood to add their own apologies. The Sophon delegate pulsed with genuine remorse. We saw your strength and called it aggression. We saw your adaptability and called it conquest. We were wrong to judge you so harshly. Jack listened to them all. Part of him wanted to be angry, to remind them of the thousands of humans who had died defending their homes. But he knew that anger would not serve his people now. What humanity needed was peace, recognition, and security. I appreciate your words, Jack said when they finished. But apologies alone are not enough. 4,000 humans died in the battle for Earth. Thousands more were wounded. Our colonies were evacuated. Our economy disrupted. Our people terrorized. Words cannot repair that damage. The council president nodded. What does humanity require for peace? Jack had spent the last 3 weeks working with Earth's government on this exact question. First, full recognition of human sovereignty. All of our colonies, including Kepler 442b, must be acknowledged as legitimate human territory. Agreed, the president said immediately. Several delegates nodded. Second, reparations. The species that attacked us must pay for reconstruction of our defenses and compensation to families of the fallen. There was some grumbling at this, but the Vorian and Kryn delegates both agreed. They had started the war. They would pay for it. Third, a formal seat on the Galactic Council, not as observers but as full members with voting rights. This caused more discussion. Some species objected that humanity was too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable, but the council president silenced them with a gesture. Humanity has proven they are a major power in the galaxy, the president said firmly. They defeated 2 military fleets. They demonstrated tactical brilliance and strategic patience. They have earned a seat at this table. The vote was called. This time the result was very different from before. 215 species voted to grant humanity full council membership. Finally, Jack continued, we require security guarantees. Any species that attacks humanity or our allies in the future will face not just our military, but economic sanctions from the entire council. We will not tolerate aggression against our people again. This is reasonable, the Sophon delegate pulsed. In fact, I propose we extend these protections to all council members. Let this war be the last war fought among our civilizations. The proposal passed with overwhelming support. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson, and none of them wanted to repeat it. After the formal session ended, several delegates approached Jack privately. They wanted to establish trade relationships, cultural exchanges, technology sharing agreements. Now that they understood humanity was not a threat, they wanted to be friends. Jack accepted many of these offers. Humanity needed allies and trading partners. The isolation that had preceded the war would not serve anyone well. That evening, Jack sent a message to Earth. Mission accomplished. We have full council membership. Our sovereignty is recognized. Reparations are being negotiated. We have won not just the war, but the peace. Admiral Kate Bradley received the message in her office at Earth Command. She smiled, then forwarded it to every military base and colony in human space. Her people deserved to know their sacrifices had achieved something lasting. On Mars, reconstruction had already begun. The planet's factories were returning to civilian production. Workers who had spent months building weapons were now building homes, vehicles, and infrastructure. On Luna, General Marcus Lee oversaw the conversion of military tunnels back into research facilities. The scientists were eager to return to their work, studying the moon's geology and testing new technologies. On Kepler 442b, Colonel Danny Hart watched as evacuated civilians returned to their homes. The colony had survived 2 major battles. Now it would thrive again. Throughout human space, life was returning to normal. But everyone knew that normal had changed. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They were no longer the new species trying to fit in. They were a major power, respected and, yes, still somewhat feared. In the years that followed, humanity became one of the most influential species in the Council. Their unique perspective, born from living on a dangerous world, proved valuable in solving problems that had stumped others for generations. When the Sophon needed help establishing a colony on a high-radiation world, they asked humans for advice. When the Vorians wanted to improve their military defenses, they studied human tactics. When new species were discovered on harsh worlds, humanity led the first contact missions because they understood what it meant to survive against the odds. The war had been devastating, but it had also established humanity's place in the galaxy. They were the species from Earth, the Death World. They were survivors, fighters, and now leaders. Ambassador Jack Morrison eventually retired from diplomatic service. He returned to Earth and wrote a book about his experiences. The final chapter was titled, "Why Declaring War on Deathworlders is a Very Bad Idea." It became required reading in military academies across the galaxy. In the book's conclusion, Jack wrote, "We did not want war. We came to the stars seeking friendship and knowledge. But when threatened, we did what our ancestors had done for millions of years. We adapted, we fought, we survived. That is the legacy of Earth. That is what it means to be human, and that is a lesson the galaxy will not forget." Years later, when new species joined the Galactic Council, they were given a standard briefing about the major powers. When they reached the section on humanity, there was always a warning. Humans come from a Class 12 death world. They have survived conditions that would kill most species. They have defeated 2 major military fleets. They are valuable allies and dangerous enemies. Treat them with respect, and never ever underestimate them. The Kryn, once the most feared warriors in the galaxy, had learned this lesson the hard way. Their military academies now studied the Battle of Earth as an example of how superior numbers and technology could be defeated by superior tactics and determination. The Vorians, who had started the whole conflict, became humanity's closest allies. Zrelthik, the ambassador who had declared war, spent the rest of his life working to build bridges between his people and humans. He never forgot the mistake he had made, and he worked tirelessly to ensure it would never happen again. As for Earth itself, the planet continued spinning in space, blue and green and beautiful. Its people continued living their lives, raising families, building cities, dreaming of the future. They were survivors from a world that tried to kill them, adapted to the harshest conditions, ready to face any challenge. They were Deathworlders, and the galaxy had learned to respect that. 5 years had passed since the war ended. The galaxy had settled into a new normal, one where humanity played a significant role in galactic affairs. But peace was a fragile thing, and new challenges always arose. Captain Lisa Chen, now Admiral Lisa Chen, stood on the bridge of Earth's newest flagship, the Endeavour. She had been promoted twice since the war. Recognition of her tactical brilliance during the battles at Kepler 442b and Earth. Now she commanded Earth's entire defense fleet. "Admiral, we are receiving a distress call," her communications officer reported. "It is from the Paxian Republic. They are under attack." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. The Paxian were one of the smallest species in the Council, peaceful traders who had no military to speak of. During the war vote, they had been one of the few who argued against declaring war on humanity. "Who is attacking them?" Lisa asked. "Unknown species, ma'am. They are not in our databases. The Paxian are calling them the Ravagers." Lisa pulled up the tactical display. The Paxian home system was 3 days away at maximum speed. "Get me Admiral Bradley on secure channel." Kate Bradley's face appeared on the screen moments later. Even after 5 years, she still commanded Earth's military from the underground facility in New Geneva. "I heard the distress call," Kate said before Lisa could speak. "What do you recommend?" "We should help them," Lisa replied without hesitation. "The Paxian voted against the war. They are our friends. Besides, if we ignore this, what does that say about humanity? That we only care about ourselves?" Kate nodded slowly. "Agreed. But we need council authorization. This could be seen as interfering in another species conflict." "Then let us get authorization," Lisa said. "Call an emergency session." Within hours, the Galactic Council convened. Ambassador Jack Morrison had retired, and the new human ambassador was a woman named Claire Foster. She was younger than Jack, but just as determined. "The Paxian are under attack by an unknown hostile force," Claire explained to the council. "They have requested assistance. Humanity is prepared to send military aid, but we want council approval first. We do not want there to be any question about our intentions." The Paxian ambassador, a small rodent-like being named Tikri, stood up. His voice was shaking. "Please, Our world is defenseless. These Ravagers appeared 3 days ago. They have already destroyed our orbital stations. They are demanding we surrender all our resources. If we do not, they will bombard our cities. Ambassador Zrelthik spoke up immediately. The Vorians support human intervention. The Paxan are peaceful people. They deserve protection. Other voices joined in. The Sophon, the Kryn, even species that had previously been skeptical of humanity, all voted to approve military action. The galaxy had learned that working together was better than fighting each other. Claire nodded. Thank you. Admiral Chen is already en route with a full battle group. They will arrive in the Paxine system within 3 days. The Endeavor and 12 other human warships pushed their engines to maximum. They traveled through faster than light space at speeds that made the crews uncomfortable, but no one complained. Lives were at stake. On the second day of travel, Lisa gathered her captains for a virtual briefing. Paul Anderson, now commanding a heavy cruiser called the Valiant, attended along with other senior officers. We do not know what we are facing, Lisa told them. The Paxan descriptions suggest the Ravagers use energy weapons and have heavily armored ships. Their tactics seem to rely on overwhelming force and intimidation. So, standard aggressive species, Paul observed. Nothing we have not handled before. Do not get overconfident, Lisa warned. Every enemy is dangerous until proven otherwise. We go in prepared for the worst. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Paxine system. Immediately, sensors detected the hostile force. 20 large ships orbited the Paxan homeworld, with dozens of smaller craft flying between them and the surface. Hail them, Lisa ordered. Let us try diplomacy first. The communication officer worked his controls. Channel open, Admiral. Attention unknown vessels, this is Admiral Lisa Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are attacking a member of the Galactic Council without provocation. Withdraw immediately or face military action. There was a long pause, then a harsh voice responded. The translator struggled with the alien language, producing a rough, grating sound. We are the Ravagers. We take what we want. This world's resources belong to us. Leave or you will be destroyed. Lisa sighed. She had hoped for negotiation, but some species only understood force. Last warning. Withdraw now. You have 13 ships. We have 20, plus 40 support craft. You cannot win. Leave while you still can. Lisa looked at her tactical officer, Greg Palmer, who had served with her since the war. Greg, do we have targeting solutions? Yes, ma'am. All enemy vessels are locked. Good. Lisa opened the channel again. I gave you a chance for peace. You chose war. That was a mistake. She closed the channel and turned to her crew. All ships engage. Show them why attacking council members is a bad idea. The human fleet accelerated forward. The Ravagers, confident in their superior numbers, moved to intercept. They unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, powerful beams that could slice through most ships. But human shields had been improved since the war. The ships absorbed the hits, their defensive systems glowing but holding. Return fire, Lisa ordered. Railguns and missiles. Let us see how their armor holds up. The Endeavor's main guns fired, launching tungsten penetrators at relativistic speeds. The Ravager flagship's shields collapsed under the impact. The second volley tore through its armor like paper. The Ravagers had never faced kinetic weapons before. Their shields, designed to disperse energy, were useless against solid projectiles. Their armor, built to withstand heat, crumpled under kinetic impact. Within minutes, 3 Ravager ships were destroyed. The others began to scatter, their confidence shattered. They are trying to retreat, Greg reported. Do not let them, Lisa ordered. If even one ship escapes, they will come back with reinforcements. End this now. The human fleet pursued relentlessly. Paul Anderson's Valiant caught a Ravager cruiser trying to reach faster than light speed. His missiles destroyed its engines, leaving it drifting in space. One by one, the Ravager ships were disabled or destroyed. Their support craft, small fighters that relied on speed and numbers, found themselves outmatched by human point defense systems. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the Ravager fleet was completely destroyed. The Paxin homeworld was safe. Lisa opened a channel to the planet's surface. This is Admiral Chen. The hostile force has been eliminated. You are safe now. Tikri's voice came back, filled with emotion. Thank you. Thank you so much. You saved our entire civilization. That is what allies do, Lisa replied. We protect each other. News of the battle spread quickly through the council. Humanity had not only defended themselves, but had also defended another species without hesitation. Their reputation shifted once again, from dangerous warriors to reliable protectors. In the weeks that followed, several smaller species requested defense pacts with humanity. Earth's government, after careful consideration, agreed to some of these requests. They would not be the galaxy's police force, but they would help those who could not help themselves. Admiral Kate Bradley addressed the Earth military in a recorded message that was played at every base and ship. 5 years ago, we fought for our survival. Today, we fight for something bigger. We fight for a galaxy where peaceful species can live without fear. We fight to prove that strength is not just about winning wars, but about protecting the innocent. The message resonated with the troops. Many had joined the military after the war, inspired by the victories but also by the values humanity claimed to represent. Now they had a chance to live up to those ideals. On Earth, civilian life had changed as well. The planet was more connected to the galaxy than ever before. Alien tourists visited Earth, eager to see the famous Death World. Human students studied at universities on other planets, learning alien sciences and cultures. Trade flourished, bringing prosperity to billions. But Earth remained prepared. The space elevators still had their hidden weapons. The underground bunkers were maintained. The fleet continued training exercises in high-gravity environments. Peace was wonderful, but humanity remembered the cost of being unprepared. Claire Foster, the human ambassador, worked tirelessly to strengthen Council unity. She proposed new laws to protect developing species. She mediated disputes between older civilizations. She used humanity's reputation as warriors to push for peaceful solutions, arguing that the galaxy had seen enough war. Her most significant achievement came 2 years after the Paxine incident. She convinced the Council to establish a joint defense force, drawing ships and personnel from multiple species. Humanity contributed the largest contingent, but every member species participated. The joint force's first mission was to stop a pirate fleet that had been raiding trade routes. The operation was a complete success, with human tactical expertise combined with alien technology, creating a formidable fighting force. Admiral Lisa Chen commanded the operation from the Endeavour. Watching ships from a dozen different species work together seamlessly, she felt a sense of pride. This was what the galaxy could be when species cooperated instead of fighting. After the mission,